In this video, we'll learn how strychnine poisoning causes severe muscle spasm. Now first, understand this diagram here. What I've drawn here is a spinal cord. This is the dorsal horn of spinal cord. Here would be the ventral horn of spinal cord. The red neuron, where the cell body is located in the anterior horn, the axon which comes and supplies your skeletal muscle, we call this neuron as alpha motor neuron, also called as anterior horn cell, otherwise called as lower motor neuron. Now, next to this anterior horn cell, there are so many small interneurons called as Renshaw cell. So now if you see the relationship between the anterior horn cell and Renshaw cell here, whenever via the corticospinal tract or your upper motor neuron, when impulse reaches this anterior horn cell, your anterior horn cell is activated. So that will send impulses via the anterior horn cell and causes skeletal muscle contraction. At the same time, impulses also goes and activates the Renshaw cell via a branch which we call it as collateral. So there are collateral which is coming from the axon of the anterior horn cell, and that goes and activates your Renshaw cell. Renshaw cell is an inhibitory interneuron, and this releases glycine. Glycine is an inhibitory neurotransmitter. So when glycine acts on glycine receptors which are present on the anterior horn cell, remember, anterior horn cell gets inhibited. So what had happened here? There is an stimulatory impulse which is coming from the brain, right, from the upper motor neuron to the spinal cord. So now this neuron goes and activates your skeletal muscle contraction. After a few seconds, what happens? Your Renshaw cell will inhibit it. So there was initially an activation of anterior horn cell. Now it is getting inhibited, which we call it as negative feedback inhibition here, right? So the problem in strychnine poisoning is that the glycine receptors are affected. So there is blockage of this glycine receptor by the strychnine toxin. So what will happen? Even though your anterior horn cell activates Renshaw cell, glycine is released by the Renshaw cell, but it cannot act on the receptor and inhibit your anterior horn cell. So what will happen? There is no inhibition. So the motor neuron will fire continuously and it will go and cause severe muscle spasm and convulsion. So this is the pathophysiology behind strychnine poisoning. Okay. Similarly, in tetanus toxin, what happens is the glycine release itself is inhibited. Not just glycine, remember, GABA release, all the inhibitory neurotransmitter release is inhibited or affected in tetanus toxin poisoning. But in strychnine poisoning, remember, the problem is the glycine receptors are blocked. So hope you have understood this.